Hello and welcome to Friday's free lesson. In today's lesson, we're going to be adding two numbers together across a 10. So you'll learn how to carry a 10 forward when your digits add up to more than 9. So to begin with, here are your warm-up questions. So pause the video here and have a go at answering them. And when you're ready, unpause the video and I'll give you your answers. So here are the answers to these warm-up questions. So if you partition 14 into 10s and 1s, you get 10 plus 4, which is the same as 1 10 and 4 1s. For question 2, calculate 6 plus 7, or 7 plus 6, and the answer is 13. For question 3, what do we add to 8 to equal 17? So you put 8 in your head, and you can use your fingers and carry on until you hit 17. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the answer is 9. And then for the final question, write 3 pairs of numbers which total 11. And these are the 3 pairs of numbers that total 11. And if you notice, they're the number bonds. So if you start with 11, well, you add 0 to 11 to make 11, and then you take 1 away from the left-hand side and add 1 to the right-hand side. So then it becomes 10 plus 1, 9 plus 2, 8 plus 3, 7 plus 4, and then 6 plus 5. And then when you repeat it, so the next one would be 5 plus 6, but because those are the same digits as the previous one, we stop there. Right, so here's the start of today's questions. So Mr. Rose earns £138 on Monday. He earns £124 on Tuesday. How much does he earn in total? Now, the key word here that tells you that it's an addition question is the word total. So if you ever see that, it usually means it's an addition question. So you add them together. So here's my place value chart. I've got hundreds, tens, and ones. So some people might know these as units, but I'd refer to them as ones. So here it is written using column addition. And in my place value chart, I've used base 10. So the first row is 100, 3 tens, and 8 ones. And in my second row, I'm adding 100, 2 tens, and 4 ones. Now, it's really important when you use column addition that you make sure your digits are in the correct columns. Okay, and you'll see why in a second. And we always start from right to left. So we're going to start with the ones. So 8 ones plus 4 ones. Now, I know what you're going to say, that's 12 ones. And you're correct. But when we do the answer, we never write 2 digits in the same column. So what do we do? Okay. Well, let's have a think. We're going to partition these numbers. So we're going to take 10 of these ones and we're going to exchange it for 1 10. And this is where we carry forward. And what we mean by carry forward is we carry 10 from one column to the next one on the left. So in this case, we've carried 10 ones over from the ones column into the tens column. So now, to show that, we write a little 1 underneath the tens column. Some people also write 1, you could write 1, sorry, on top of the tens column, whichever works for you. But I always write it underneath and the next column along. So now we've got 3 tens plus 2 tens, which equals 5 tens, but now we've got to add an extra 1. Okay, so we put our 2 ones in to show we've got 2 left, and then we add all the tens together like I showed you, and we've got 6 tens in total. Now, some people find adding 3 numbers together difficult. That's okay. All you need to do is add the 2 numbers together first, 3 plus 2, which equals 5, and then add the extra 1 afterwards, which will make 6. And then we add the hundreds together. So 100 plus another 100 equals 200s. Okay, and if you take it 1 digit at a time and you remember to show that you've carried 1 forward, If you've got two digits that add together that are bigger than 9, and make a 10 or above, then you carry that 110 over. So the answer is that Mr. Rose earns £262. Just make sure you include the unit pound sign, okay? Because pounds are stated in the question. Let's go on to the next one. Mo scores 243 points in a game, and Eva scores 108 points in a game. How many do they score in total? There's our key word again, total, to show us that it's an addition question. So here's my place value chart. Here is my sum written using column addition. This time I'm going to use place value counters. So they've got their value written on them, but green is for hundreds, yellow is for tens, and red is for ones. Now we're going to start again with the ones. Okay, have a think, how many ones do I have in total? That's right, it's 11. But I can't write 11 in that column. Can you think, how do I write 11 across the tens and ones? That's right. We're going to put a 1, we're going to exchange 10 of those ones for a 10 and write that underneath the tens column. We then, whatever ones we've got left over, we write in the ones column, so we've only got 1 1. And now we're going to add the tens together. Okay, so to start off, we've got 4 tens. We haven't got to add any more because it's 0, the digit underneath, but we've actually got that 1 10 that we carried over. So 4 plus 1 is 5. So we write the 5 in the tens column. And then finally, we add the hundreds. 2 plus 1 equals 3. So we've got 3 hundreds. So again, as long as you take it one step at a time, and if you've got a situation where you've got more than 9 in one of the columns, you exchange 10 of them for the next one to the left, and make sure you show that by writing a little 1 underneath. So our answer this time was 351. There were no units stated in the question, so we don't have to write any units in our answer. Okay, so now it's time to have a go at questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So here they are on screen. I'll just shrink it down a little bit. There you go, so you can see all the questions. Brilliant. So pause the video here to answer the questions. Okay, so how did you get on? What I'm going to do, I'm going to answer just one question from each of them, from each of the questions. So, one part from each of the questions to show you how to do it properly. And hopefully you've done the same. And if you haven't, you can just go back and edit them. So, question 1, I'm going to zoom a little bit. There we go. So 8 plus 3 is 11. So to show that, okay, I'm going to exchange 10 of those ones, which I can show here. There we go. So those 10 I'm going to exchange for an extra 110, which goes underneath there. I've got 1 1 left over, so I'm going to write it here. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in just so you can see a bit better. There we go. I've also got this extra 10, so I need to write a little 1 underneath, like that. Now I'm going to add the 10s together. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10s to begin with. So 2 plus 4 is 6, but I've also now got that extra 10 here. So 6 plus 1 equals 7. So my answer to question 1A is 71. Moving on to question 2 now. It says tick the additions that need an exchange of 1s for a 10. So this is where you need to recognise and use your number bond knowledge to start off in the 1s column and add them together to see if they need an exchange. Okay, so we're going to do that. So the first one, 8 plus 1, is 9. Remember to click on the pen. That doesn't need an exchange, so it doesn't need a tick. Now I'm going to answer the next one just to show what happens. This time we've got 7 plus 8. Well, 7 plus 8 equals 15. So I'm going to show that on here. Now, because that's had an exchange and I've carried forward over 1, that did need an exchange, so I'm going to give it a tick. I'm going to leave you to work out this one if you haven't already, okay? And then part B was to complete each of the additions. For question 3, we work out the additions, okay? Now I'm going to ignore A, I'm going to do B because it has units and I want to show you how we use them. So whenever a question includes units, you always need to write them. Now, if you do it using column addition, there's no reason why you can't write them in beforehand. And if you do it first, you don't have to remember it then afterwards. And then you can focus on the question. So here it's 517 add 234. So we always start with the ones. 7 plus 4 is 11. Now again, I know that I'm going to partition that. I'm going to partition 11 into 10 and 1. So my ones I'm going to write here. The 10, I'm going to show that by writing a little 1 underneath the tens column. And then I add the tens. So 1 plus 3 is 4 tens. Add the extra 1 makes 5. And then I add the hundreds. 5 plus 2 equals 7. Okay. I've already written my units, so I don't need to write them anymore. I don't have to worry about them. Question 4, tick the additions with an answer that ends in 0. Okay, now again, I'm going to use my number bond knowledge to work out these answers. Okay, so any answer that ends in 10 will give me the answer that ends in 0. So I'm going to do the first one, and I just need to focus on the ones. Okay, so these two digits, or 7 plus 3 equals 10. So that one does end in a 0. Okay, so you could either work out the sums and just focus on the ones digits, or you could write out your number bonds for 10 and then see which ones match. And finally, question 5. Okay, excuse me. Tiny's working out 348 plus 127. What mistake has Tiny made? Okay, so generally, if there's a question that states there isn't a mistake, you need to have a look for one. Okay, so let's have a look together. So 8 plus 7 is 15, and Tiny's remembered to carry the 1 forward. That's brilliant. But have a look at the tens now. 4 plus 2 does equal 6, but has he added the extra 1? I'll leave you to work that out. Okay, so once you finish question 5, we'll move on to the other part of the PowerPoint. Okay, so now we're on to a missing digits question. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky because we know it's an addition. Our top digit in the ones column is 6, but the answer says 2. Now we know as it's an addition, our answer must be bigger than the numbers we start with. So what do we do? Well, because we're carrying 10 forward, we know that the next number that contains a 2 after 6 is 12. So we know that we must carry a 1 forward, sorry. So 6 ones plus something ones is equal to something ones, okay? Well, as I said, we know that the next number after 6 that contains a 2 is 12. So we know the answer must equal 12 ones. So what number do we add to 6 to make 12? So we're going to put 6 on our heads, and we're going to use our fingers again, and we're going to stop at 12. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers. So my answer must be 6. There we go. Now, because the answer was 12, we must show that we've carried forward that 10 into the tens column. And now we add the tens together. So 2 tens plus 3 tens equals, you think of the answer? That's right, it's 5 tens plus the extra 1 10. So that's 5 plus 1 equals 6 tens. So we write the digit 6 in the tens column. Now here, for the hundreds, okay, we've got one of the digits in the hundreds column, the 5. Oops, get the answer right, sorry. The 5. And we know the answer is 7. So again, we're going to put 5 on our head, and we're going to count to 7. 5, 6, 7. This time I've got 1, 2 fingers up. So the answer is 2. 200s plus 500s is equal to 700s. Okay? So with this, always just be careful. Have a look closely at the digits that are used. Okay? And then use that technique of putting one number in your head and then using your fingers to count the next numbers until you get the answer. And your answer is the number of fingers you're holding up. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at question 6. So pause the video here and have a go at question 6, and when you're ready, resume the video. So for question 6, again, I'm just going to look at A, so just in case you're a bit stuck, always check your answers, and then you can have a go at B yourself. So we're looking at the ones column because we always start with the ones. We've got a 6, and our answer is 2, okay? So again, we know that because it's an addition, our answer here must be bigger than what we start with, okay? So we know the next number after 6 is 12. So this time I'm going to show that. I'm going to show that the 10 was added here, okay? So I know my answer is 12. So I'm going to start with 6 in my head and use my fingers again and count to 12. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers up. So my answer is 6. Okay. Now, this time, I'm starting with 3, and my answer is 7. Okay. But I've also got an extra 1. So I'm going to start with 3 in my head, and I'm going to add 1. That makes 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now I need to get to 7. So I'm going to put 4 in my head and then count on to 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. And I've got 1, 2, 3 fingers up. So my answer here is 3. And then finally, I've got 4 plus 2. I'm not going to use my fingers again. 4 in my head, 4, 5, 6. So I've got my 2 fingers up, 4, 5, 6. So my answer is 6. Okay, so that was an alternate way. So if you've got the 2 working numbers in the workings out already there, so like the 4 and the 2, you can put 4 in your head and 2 in your hand. So 4, 5, 6, and you can count on that way. So it's a bit of an alternate way. If you're missing a number here and you know the answer, you put the starting number in your head. So let's look at the ones, and you got the 6. Okay, I know I've got to get to 12. So this time the answer is the number of fingers on my hand. So in this case, it was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the answer was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was the number of fingers. So just be careful when using your fingers and which way round you're going to use it. Okay, so well done if you answered that question. Let's go back onto the final part of the PowerPoint. So most scores are 105 points in a game. Amir scores 114 more points than Mo. How many points do they score altogether? Okay, now this is going to be a two-part question. So first of all, we need to know how many points did Amir score, because it states that he scored 114 more points. So this is our first part of the question. We know that Mo scored 105. We need to know how many Amir got in total, but we know the difference is 114. So we do 105 add 114. So what column do we always start with? That's right, the ones column. So it's 5 plus 4 equals 9, 0 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. No carry forwards last time, so it's nice and easy. The answer is 219. But that was only part 1. Now that we know what Amir's score was, the second part of the question said, how many points did they score altogether? Now that's another key word. If you see the word altogether in your question, again, that means add. So we're going to add them together now. So we're going to write our second sum, which this time is 105 plus 219. Now again, we're going to start with the ones column, you're right. And we do 5 plus 9. This time it equals 14. So I'm going to write 14 in the ones column. Is that correct? No, you're right. I don't put 14 in that column. I need to put the, what was it? Of course, the 4. So I put the 4 in the ones column, and I write the tens, the 110, in the tens column underneath. I then add the tens together. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then I add the hundreds. 1 plus 2 equals 3.